Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Obi-Wan episode 3 just dropped, so let's talk Easter eggs, references, thoughts, and theories. Let's go. Obi-Wan reconnecting to the Force like he did in the previous episode puts a huge target on his back. He connects through the Force through Anakin and has a pretty similar reaction that Ahsoka had in Rebels when she felt her master again. Obi-Wan is also still trying to communicate with Qui-Gon, which we know he has not connected with him just yet. We're definitely expecting that voice to happen. I'm calling it happening on episode 5 specifically. And considering that Liam Neeson is coming back in Star Wars Tales of the Jedi in order to voice his character, Qui-Gon Jinn, I feel pretty confident that he will appear in this show. Now, a lot of people speculate that he's only going to be a voice because they believe he never learned how to corporealize. This is not true. We have a canon reference to him actually being able to put together a physical body. He does this from a certain point of view, A New Hope, in a short story called Master and Apprentice, written by Claudia Gray. Amazing story. Highly recommend checking it out. That being said, it may take him a while to learn how to do this, so he might still only appear as a voice in the show. We'll see. We finally get to see Reva's big motivation of trying to become the Grand Inquisitor, which is hilarious to me because it means that most of the struggle is really just like middle management. It's like the SVP job opened up and everyone else is vying to get it, which is funny, but like very accurate. Very accurate if you've worked in a corporate setting like I have. Important to note that Reva makes it seem like the Grand Inquisitor was killed by Obi-Wan. Now, we know that he's not actually dead because he's a big part of Star Wars Rebels, which takes place after this. Also, spoiler alert, Reva is not in that show, so something bad is going to happen. But that being said, I love this because that... at some point, the Grand Inquisitor has to show back up, and I think that's going to be the end of Reva's story. There's not really a reference or an Easter egg, but like, I'm just really curious about this throne room. Like, what does Vader do there? It's not like there's monitors. He's not there watching pod races. Is he just sitting there looking at lava? I mean, I don't know. It's just very extra, which is also very Anakin. So we find out that not only is Reva vying for the position of Grand Inquisitor, but she wants to stand at Vader's side. Now, we don't exactly know why, but from context, it seems to be something very akin to, you know, she only values strength and the ability to fight and kill and get whatever she wants. Vader being the biggest bad, of course, that's who you're going to want to be at the side. It really feels like all the other Inquisitors, because of them being former Jedi, still have this air of civility about them. They still have these lines that they won't cross, or this ingrained order inside of themselves that you don't see in Sith Lords, and you don't see in Reva as well. We get a reference to The Force Awakens.
Can't you use the Force on it or something?
That's not how it works.
We'll use the Force. That's not how the Force works.
Leia asks what the Force feels like to Obi-Wan, and I love his explanation. But it feels like this could potentially be a throwback to the High Republic. You see, every Jedi in the High Republic will talk about how they see the Force. Burryaga Yagaberry sees it as a giant tree with, you know, tons and tons of leaves and branches. Elzar Mann sees it as a vast ocean with fathomless depths. Belzetifar sees it as a fire, and the intensity with which the fire burns is kind of like the strength that he's using in the Force. Avar Crest sees it as music and can hear dissonant notes, or when something is out of tune, as being, you know, basically like a tremor throughout the Force. And it's really fascinating. I love seeing how Obi-Wan specifically, you know, how he feels the Force, or at least how he explains it to Leia.
Lola! You fixed her.
Obi-Wan fixes Lola. Now, we don't typically see Obi-Wan fix things, and obviously he may have learned it elsewhere, but I also wonder if his ability to tinker somewhat comes from his time spent with Anakin. When we get to Mapuzo, we also see an R5 droid, but of course this is not the same R5 that we would find on Tatooine. The burn marks from where the motivator blew out are not there, where they are present in The Mandalorian. Random reminder that time under the Empire is actually good for some people. It's horrendous for a lot of people, but there are still some good people, and we have to fully acknowledge that people like Bail are part of the Empire. Now they're fighting to make it a better place and ultimately see that it is corrupted and needs to go away completely. But it's always an interesting thought experiment to think about how people's lives started to get better and then they got much, much worse. We get introduced to Freck the Mole Man, who is one of my new favorite Glub Shittos. Now, this character is voiced by Zach Braff, who is famous from Scrubs, which is interesting because his partner in Scrubs is also in Star Wars as Hype Phazon in Star Wars Resistance. The Imperial flag on the back of the truck gave me the ick for sure. It felt a lot like when you see a Confederate flag on the back of a truck and you're like, y'all making me nervous, you know? The best lies always have some truth in them. When Obi-Wan is looking into Leia's eyes and says that he can see her mother in them, that was just heartbreaking. Like, why you gotta do this to me, Star Wars? And everyone could tell how sincere he was. Even the stormtroopers dropped it. Even Leia had to ask him point blank, did you know my mom? Obi-Wan talks about being taken from his home and being given a new family in the form of the Jedi, but this is just a friendly reminder that his home planet is Stewjon, named after Jon Stewart, because George Lucas just be like that sometimes. Obi-Wan has trouble shutting off this gate, which I find to be a little bit funny because they could have very easily walked around it. Vivian Lyra Blair is killing it as young Leia. Absolutely encompasses the wit and the sarcasm and the snark and all that good stuff, and actually does a really good job, especially in this episode, playing both sides of it, where they seem to be a lot more intelligent than their years would suggest, but at the same time still is very much a little girl. We see that when she starts blaming herself for what happened. Droids are absolutely the unsung heroes of Star Wars. We get a great line when Princess Leia says, never underestimate a droid. We see that here when little young Leia is talking to this loader droid that can't really communicate back, but you can absolutely tell that Leia's care and just the fact that she was speaking to it like it was an actual person, you can tell it made a definite effect on the droid itself. And you can tell that because the droid had a hammer and was about to start conking people on the head if they threatened our beautiful little girl. The network of stations and safe houses that they use to smuggle Force sensitives in and out of places is very akin to the Underground Railroad. Of course, the Underground Railroad was used in the United States South in order to help sneak enslaved people to the north so they can achieve their freedom, just like this is used in order to help Force-sensitive people escape the Empire, which is hunting both Jedi and anyone who's Force sensitive. They made it clear that they don't know what happens to the children who are taken, who are Force sensitive, but we do know that the Empire has been trying to do this for quite a bit of time. We see that Cad Bane is trying to kidnap Force sensitive kids all the way back in the Clone Wars, and we see that the Inquisitors are also doing this in Star Wars Rebels. I am anxious to see exactly what happens when they do take one of those kids, and I want to find out whether or not Reva was actually one of those kids. Alright guys, I'm so happy. We got a name drop, Quinlan Vos. We always knew that he was alive. We know now that he's still alive 10 years later, and he's actually out here helping to smuggle Force-sensitive kids, all the way to Jabeam. So cool. I love that we got the name drop. Hopefully we will see him in live action, but here's the caveat. I do not want him to show up just to watch him die by Vader's hand. So I kind of don't want him to show up in this show because I don't think he would survive it. While this network of safe houses does feel very akin to the Underground Railroad, it is known as the Path. I also believe this to be a reference to the High Republic, where they have the paths and they're able to connect people and allow you to travel without using typical means through hyperspace in order to get to your destination undetected. The message that Quinlan Vos left is, only when the eyes are closed can you truly see the way. I love this line, and I think that Obi-Wan had this in mind, A, when he was training Luke, and B, using this line, this is how Luke destroyed the Death Star. We can see by the rank plaque that Tala is wearing that she ranks as a captain. Tala wears her gun holster on the opposite side and says it gives her a faster draw. This is exactly what Leia used when she saved Han. Also, can we take a second to talk about how good our boy Vader looks? He looks so powerful, imposing, sinister. Like, he's just killing it in this one. I'm living for it. If you're one of those people that still thinks that Anakin and Vader are two separate people, you're gonna be disappointed by this, because yeah, clearly this is still Anakin and he's still very, very extra. Notice how in the fight scene, Vader is fighting with one hand. We've seen him do this before. This is what he did against Luke in Empire Strikes Back. This means that he's not even going full force yet. This is like the ultimate sign of disrespect. He's just playing with his food at this point. I also love seeing that Anakin still's got jokes. He roasts Obi-Wan verbally, and then he roasts him physically. It's a pretty harrowing image, especially considering that Anakin went through this himself. But if we look back at the Vader 2017 comic run, we'll know that Vader's been thinking about doing this for a long, long time. All in all, I really loved this episode. It was epic, way beyond anything that I thought it was going to be. We got a lot more Vader than I thought we were going to be, and I didn't think we would see them mash up with each other like this soon in the series. But I can't wait to find out more, to see what's going to go on with Reva, to see how the Grand Inquisitor is going to come back, because Quizzy ain't dead. Man, there's so much. I can't wait to cover this every week for you guys. But yeah, if you like the content, please like, share, subscribe, do all the things. I super appreciate it. And may the Force be with you always.